TalkDesk is on a mission to rid the world of bad customer experience. With our cloud-native AI-powered CX platform, purpose-built for retail, and extensible AI offerings, we empower brands in the cloud and on-premises to deliver exceptional customer experiences that make them more competitive, grow revenue, reduce costs, and provide operational efficiencies. Discover TalkDesk Retail Experience Cloud, an out-of-the-box customer experience platform built for retail.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, the editor-in-chief of Total Retail. I'm pleased to be joined on this episode by Brett Herskowitz, who is the Senior Manager of Loyalty at the Vitamin Shoppe. Brett and I are here at CRMC in Chicago, and I'm excited to talk to Brett about the Vitamin Shoppe and its loyalty program as well, Healthy Awards. So thanks for joining me today, Brett.
Please, thank you for having me, Joe.
So let's kind of get right into it. I'd love for you to give a little bit of an overview for our audience about the Vitamin Shoppe's loyalty program, Healthy Awards. Tell us a little bit about the program and specifically the benefits of membership.
Totally. So I joined the Vitamin Shoppe back in 2018 as we were in the midst of doing a pilot of a program relaunch. And that officially went live April 2019. So that was a big shift for us to now introducing 3 tiers for customers. Previously, it was simply you shopped, you earned points, and at the end of each quarter, you got an award. So now we were able to make things much more flexible. You know, we obviously did a lot of consumer research in the during the pilot process. People wanted flexibility with their rewards, with how they could interact with the program. So we were able to introduce these 3 tiers, bronze, silver, gold, nice and simple. Yep. And since then, we've done what we can to expand the value proposition as best we can for our customers because, obviously as the times change and, people have the, opportunity to be part of countless programs, we want to try to identify opportunities for us to kind of, set our, make us stand out, add in those extra benefits, those perks. We obviously have our birthday offer we give customers. We have exclusive offers for our gold customers that we do annually and biannually. And we bake in, bonus points offers throughout the year. Offers we try to frame as, cashback award promotions, really trying to hone in on the tangibleness. I know that's not really a word, but tangibility, I'll be okay, of the perks of what customers are getting to make it more, to make it feel more valuable. So, we again, it's all about giving customers the flexibility to convert their points when they want or have their awards automatically issued to them when they're ready for them. And then it's about just identifying opportunities to kind of break up or rather engage with customers in between their transactions to not only obviously keep them a loyal member of Healthy Awards, but keep them coming back to the Vitamin Shoppe.
So I want to follow up with one thing you mentioned, Brett, in terms of the relaunch of this program, some customer feedback you did, and some consumer research that you did. Tell us a little bit about what you learned when you talked to your customers about what they wanted from a loyalty program. And then also, it sounds like you might have looked outside of your own company and kind of did some research on some other loyalty programs.
Oh, yes.
What you're seeing in the market. Tell us how that kind of all came together into what you have now.
Totally. So first on the consumer research side, obviously at the end of the day, you have to listen to your customers to understand what they want. We can collect all the data in the world, but if we aren't at the end of the day also listening to the customers to see what they're interested in, and I will say one thing, no matter what, we will always see people love free shipping. No matter what, even if we have our current set thresholds for shipping are not that high given what the average cost of a product from the Vitamin Shoppe is. Yep. People love free shipping. It was free shipping, it was flexibility. I think some of the interesting things we've seen in the time since is that people aren't as in tune with their status within the program. Even gold customers, we break it out by tiers and ask them, hey, do you know what status you are? Do you know this? And surprisingly, we see that there's a lot of work we have to do in order to ensure our customers understand their place within the program, better, connect with them, better serve up all of their loyalty, the key loyalty data points.
Are they missing out on some opportunities at their certain level?
Yeah, I think obviously the big thing for us is how can we better highlight their points balance, for example, and not only that, but letting them know if they're close to an award, if they already have an award. It's my boss Karen has mentioned this recently, and I like it a lot. We often see in stores, customers will come in, they'll shop, and they'll go to check out. And that's when the in-store employee can let them know, hey, by the way, you have an award. But the thing is, can we make it more of an incentive as opposed to effectively a discount when they're already checking out? So,
be a little more proactive, right? Before, when they're entering the store, they know what they're going to, and then that could hopefully drive up average ticket, I would imagine.
100%. We see a very healthy lift in AOV when customers are using those award vouchers versus when they're not in transactions. So that's obviously always top of mind is, at the end of the day, we're giving them money for shopping with us. We want to make sure they recognize that they have this free money available and they're using it to, generate those repeat purchases.
Yep, and that incremental spend as well. So talk about the relaunch of the program's a few years now.
Yes.
The tactics you've employed to get new members in. So you've obviously had an existing loyalty base, but you want to keep growing that base. Tell us a little bit about some of the acquisition tactics you've employed.
Totally. And I think the fun thing with loyalty, and it's, this is still my first experience in loyalty. I've been with the Vitamin Shoppe for almost 6 years. It'll be 6 years in a couple weeks.
Well, congrats on that. And in the retail space, that's a good run.
Hey, and my first real retail job on the corporate side. But of course, my year-long tenure at Dunkin' Donuts in high school doesn't quite count. But as far as acquisition goes, I love that loyalty. It's a healthy dose of both retention and acquisition. It's how do we keep our existing customers happy, and then how do we continue to bring customers in? And we actually, at the beginning of this year, we ran a couple tests where customers who signed up in store would get a $5 award just by signing up. Are we able to generate additional signups through that? And we obviously, we did see a nice healthy bump in January and February when we ran these tests. And then additionally, it's okay, now we need to make sure we're following up with these customers to ensure that, great, we brought them in, are we able to keep them in the long run? So that's one. I think another big thing we've pushed in our stores especially, because the Vitamin Shoppe is still a very retail-heavy company, is how can we best bring in customers, but bring in a modern customer, for lack of a better term, where we're able to focus on our mobile app in stores. We see a very nice increase in frequency, in their annual spend when it comes to our omni shoppers as opposed to retail only. So I think with the customer acquisition piece, it's ensuring we're giving people the simplest, easiest, most convenient way to shop with us right at the point of attack. I say point of attack, but right as they're coming into the store. We and I have to give a shout out to Dunkin' Donuts. Someone months ago was going into a Dunkin' and I think and this goes back to you mentioning before, looking at what other programs across the landscape are doing. Yeah. You go to a Dunkin', you see right on their door, sign up for our program with a QR code. We got that up and running March of this year, where we have what we call a door cling, that when you are entering the store, we encourage people to sign up by scanning the QR code, which will download our app. On the way out, it's also on that side. We have an updated counter mat at our POS in stores. Brochures we've updated recently to kind of highlight the latest and greatest that we are offering to customers. It's really all about how can we most simply serve up all we have to offer for customers the second they come in the door.
And then I imagine there's similar tactics in your digital channels as well. So your whether it be pop-ups or when they get to the product page, cart page, they're getting alerted, hey, if you're not a member, you take advantage of this great opportunity to become a member?
Definitely. And I think the other thing with that too is we, towards the end of 2022, working with the platform CrowdTwist, we were able to introduce points earning activities for customers on a monthly basis. And it's something I was stoked about when we were able to bring this to life. And now to see it, monthly we offer up these points earning activities to customers as a means of getting them to engage with us in between those purchases. So by not only identifying ways for us to go to them, or rather have them come to us when they're not shopping, it then can, in turn encourage higher we've already seen the new customers who are taking the activities, higher frequency of shopping, they're spending a bit more. It's things like that we want to make sure we are doing what we can to be a digitally active company, and in turn make it again as easy as possible for customers who come in to take advantage of the program.
I'm thinking, Brett, about your product line too. As consumers get into a health routine, that those frequent purchases, whether it's vitamins, whatever the product may be, that could then be that kind of repeat activity, and it really behooves them to get in that loyalty program. So that's probably some messaging that you're communicating to them.
Totally, and that then in turn we try to serve up certain promotions that are focused on specific products or product lines. Right now, yet still running through Sunday, we're doing an awards promotion. If you buy a 5-pound tub of BodyTech protein, which is one of our own protein brands, just trying to reach those customers with, we know you like the protein, we know you're shopping it, let's reward you for doing so. And hopefully in turn, we can see some customers buying the 5-pound tub instead of the 3-pound tub. Just seeing if we can do what we can to kind of push them to spend a bit more, or in turn just spend a bit more would probably be
and take that next level in terms of frequency too.
Yes, of course.
So let's go to the other kind of side of the coin. We talked about acquisition, and you've alluded to it. That's part of it, but then once you get them in the program, you need to keep them engaged. You don't just want that first-time purchase and then never hear from them again. Mm-hmm. So talk about what you're doing to continually engage those existing members so that they're active within the program.
Totally. So I think one thing we've done is recently we revamped our email welcome series to better introduce healthy awards. It's something where it's the constant marketer struggle where we have our brand, the Vitamin Shoppe, and we have the program Healthy Awards. So how do we best ensure we are introducing the program in a way that people will start to connect the two easily? I'm not going to act like I'm not a little envious of, some other programs out there where it's, Starbucks rewards, DD perk, all of these little, all of these programs that have the name in it, it's a little bit easier. But going back to the points earning activities, I think that's something we're really trying to lean heavily into. Because I think for me, something that has stuck out for months now, we were on a call with members of our private brands team because we were introducing to them these activities as something where not only are we able to engage with customers, it's a chance for us to collect zero-party data. It's a chance for us, we're constantly working with internal teams to say, what do you want to ask? So we put together surveys, poll questions to collect this data and really understand, what people are looking for. But while we were meeting with them, I was explaining, on average, it's 40 to 45 points you can earn. And when I explained that to the team, one member, he goes, so instead of someone spending $40, you can come onto the site or onto the app and earn these points in a matter of minutes. And I was like, yes, that is the exact message we are trying to drive home. Yep. So I would say it's obviously those activities, getting that digital engagement in between purchases, and then finding opportunities to serve up exclusive offers. Obviously, when you think of loyalty programs, you think of exclusives. You think of what are your loyal members going to get above and beyond what the general customer gets. So that's where we have perks for our gold customers. We've done a number of in-store events, in-store activations. A little teaser. I'm very excited. Next month we're going to have our first ever Member Appreciation Week. Which I'm very excited about. 7 days of offers where we're going to be handing out flyers in the weeks leading up to it to try to encourage customers to come back. We're running a nice big giveaway with Celsius, one of the bigger brands we have at the store, which I'm sure many people are familiar with. So that's something where not only will that in turn just by with its existence providing that inherent value, we're also using that as an acquisition play as well. I
was going to say, that creates awareness too.
We have that handout, that has a, we love our QR code. So we have that handout. On the back, we have if you're not a member yet, scan this QR code and join. So very excited for that as both an acquisition and retention
dual benefit you get there. Yes. Talk a little bit about, you mentioned it, you're collecting this really valuable customer data, this rich data that you can then, because that's the expectation from these customers is when they're sharing this data with you, they then in turn expect personalized experience, customized offerings. So tell us a little bit about how that works in the Healthy Awards program at Vitamin Shoppe, and you might have an example or two if you want to share.
So right now, a lot of our focus is on collecting that zero-party data because, like you said, you see studies across the landscape where people are willing to give up that zero-party data when they know what they're getting in return. So, I have my colleagues standing over here who runs our email program, and in there we're able to kind of customize the content we serve up to customers. And I think what we want to do is continue to take that zero-party data, ingest it, understand what what are our customers' wants and desires, how are they interacting with, we'll do surveys on any number of things, whether it's how do you feel about we ran a convenience survey, and with that it was even simply, are you aware of some of the services we offer, now that we have Instacart, DoorDash, our auto delivery program. So in turn it's about taking that zero-party data and turning it around. And we're starting to see that in email. And I think, as we progress through this year, we're going to continue to expand what we're able to offer people and try to reach them with those, those bits of personalized content or, customized, personalized moments within their customer journey. Mm-hmm. And that's something we've especially tried to stand up on our mobile app where, now we've added in some new in-app messaging where if we see you're browsing and you're within a certain amount of points to reach your next award, we'll let you know, hey, by the way, and this goes back to what I was saying before, while you're in the store trying to catch them with their award, it's, we see someone shopping, or rather browsing on the app, going to them with an in-app message saying, hey, you're only 20 points away from your award. If you tap here, earn those points, go shop, and you'll, be able to apply that award to that purchase. And then, of course, from our side, in turn, hopefully they're then spending a bit more because they are applying that award to their transaction.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to the omnichannel nature of the consumer that you have too, that's coming into, you obviously a big physical footprint at the Vitamin Shop, but also those digital shoppers that are looking online, but then also the app too. And to your point, I think your most loyal customers are probably the ones that are downloading that app, that are interacting regularly. It's not uncommon where the retailer's best customers will be, it's people that are downloading its app as well.
Definitely.
You mentioned some exciting things coming up, but there's obviously not an end goal here in terms of like a finish line. Like it's constant, right? Expectations change, what the consumer wants, their behaviors change. So how do you then think about continually improving the Healthy Awards loyalty program based upon that in terms of what you're seeing from the customer, your own customers, and also like when you come to an event like CRMC, there's other brands and you learn from others in terms of just general overall market trends.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a revolutionary thing for me to say it, but obviously post 2020 or so, we saw a huge shift in how consumers interact with brands. And I think one of the big things there was that now it just, I think after that, you had so many people who have access to any number of programs, any number of apps, any number of brands, and it's trying to chip away and identify opportunities for us to be a bit of a differentiator when we can. And that's where the points earning activities, I always say it's funny because I'm not much of a shopper, but I think because I'm not a very frequent shopper, that kind of gives me a certain point of view that I think is beneficial, because if it's not going to get, my behind off the couch, is it going to get customers off the couch, So I think when you look at that, I love that we're able to engage with people in between purchases like that and hopefully continue to do so, because you listen to any number of the great presentations over the last day plus, and a lot of it is how do you foster that sense of community or that sense, going beyond just the I'm going into the store, I'm buying my products and I'm leaving. That's where the in-store activations come into play, the points earning activities, and then looking towards what's to come. We're going to start doing a bit of an audit in some of our life cycle email communications, where it's, are we sending these at the exact right time based on what we see our customers doing? I always say that we have certain communications that go out shortly after a customer has made a purchase that got them into a new tier or has them within range of reaching a new tier. But then it's, how do we better optimize it so when not only are we making sure we're telling them about all of the great stuff with their specific status within the program, but it's doing so at the optimal moment so we can then encourage that incremental trip to the store, incremental purchase, whatever it may be. So I think that's something I'm pretty excited for in the latter half of I almost said 2023, 2024, to better optimize that and continue to identify these opportunities for us to stand up new offers, anything we can to ensure our customers feel the value of the program, that whether transactionally or otherwise,
or experience driven as well, and incentivizing behavior, right? That's kind of the name of the game. And to your point, you're fighting for attention, right? That,
Yes.
and it's through social media and apps, and consumers they have so many different outlets that to get your slice of the pie, you have to really differentiate it, and that's what you're trying to do with the Vitamin Shoppe.
Yeah, of course, easier said than done, but it's something we're constantly looking at. Like you mentioned before too. Like I love when I get mailers to my house, so I can, I love reading all that. I am signed up for tons of SMS programs. We're constantly trying to do that sort of ad hoc competitive analysis, competitive reporting that, if you would have told me 6 years ago I'd find all this stuff interesting, I would have laughed at you. But here I am getting excited when my wife gets something in the mail, and she doesn't care. I'm like, let me see that. I want to see, how they position this, how they're, so I love all of it at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to be market aware, right? And you got to know what you're up against. Well, I want to take the opportunity to thank Brett Herskowitz of the Vitamin Shoppe for joining us here on this episode of Total Retail Talks at CRMC. It's really been a fun conversation. Thanks, Brett.
Wow, of course. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
Discover TalkDesk Retail Experience Cloud, an out-of-the-box customer experience platform built for retail.